Hi, and welcome to Unleashed, a podcast about the people, the projects, and the culture of Big Red Dog. Each episode, we sit down with a team member to discuss what they're doing on a daily basis to chase their passions, help our clients become successful, and make the engineering business cool. I'm Sean Terrio-Smith, your co-host, along with Kelly Dakin. Kelly, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Sean. How you doing?
Doing great. The
Awesome. Temperatures
are dropping here in Texas. We're no longer in a heat wave. The heat is still in the three-digit mark sometimes throughout the day, but we're we're surviving at least. So I'm glad the end of summer is right around the corner. We're still going to be pretty hot around here, but I'm looking forward to this conversation we have today. We're in Houston today, talking with one of our project engineers. Let's go. All right, welcome back, folks, to another episode. As we mentioned, we've got a project engineer from the Houston office with us today, Jesus Donato, a PE. He joined the firm a little over a year ago now. I think you're actually coming up on a year. But anyway, you've been with the firm for about a year and a part of the substantial growth in our Houston market that we've been experiencing. And we're glad to have you on the show. How are you doing, Jesus?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. I'm really excited to come back to the Houston office. Last individual we had was Sam, our second episode, who was an intern turned graduate engineer. And I'm glad to be talking to another fellow Houston office member now, this time Kelly over in Austin. So the tables have been turned. We've been reversed. So we're on home turf now. So we get to have a more interesting conversation, I think. But anyway, Jesus, so what drew you to Big Red Dog in the first place? You had come from a couple other employers before, and I know you were studied locally in Texas. What drew you to Big Red Dog in the beginning?
Sure. And I'm actually on my eve of my anniversary.
Oh, really? So, it's actually tomorrow?
Anniversary eve, yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. So you get to spin the wheel tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
See what the
you're going to rig it? Are. You're going to make sure you rig it to get what you want?
Oh, I've been practicing for this whole year.
Well, good thing we have the marketing individual on our show today. Can you make sure that he gets exactly what he wants? Not just under the table. Nobody's going to know. Nobody will know.
Sure. I'll try.
No, so Big Red Dog drew me just, first the name, right? I didn't really know much about it. So that was the first thing that drew me to it. And I came from Jacobs Engineering. That's where I started my engineering career. And then before that, I worked at a environmental consultant company. Mm-hmm. And that was straight out of college. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do long term. So Jacobs there, I did civil engineering, much like here, but I focused more on industrial type projects. And what fascinated me more about Big Red Dog was the projects that we have here. And some of them, we have on our website, pretty sexy and all that, but I was more interested in making an impact in my community. So I was really interested in that.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, Jacobs is a pretty large firm. They're a global firm. They're decidedly in different markets than we are. Those engineering, procurement, and construction firms are very, very broad. It was obviously a very corporate environment, and to come to a company like Big Red Dog that's very entrepreneurial, very agile. It's no longer a small firm necessarily. It's a mid-sized engineering firm, but I imagine it had to been a very dramatic change in terms of company culture. Was there something that just jumped right out at you when you came here the first week or two? What was the dramatic shift for you coming from Jacobs to here?
Probably the biggest culture change was how close I was to the owners. Like Bob was right here. Mm-hmm. Sitting next to me. And then Will came by and did a presentation over our, what's it called?
Business plan, I think, at that time, or was marketing?
No, it was open business management.
Open book management.
Yeah, book management. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he did a whole presentation on that. And then he came back the following week, did a presentation on our key metrics, right, on that. And so that was pretty cool just to meet him, first week, second week, interact with him. We had, something in common with him also being from Carter Burgess and Papa Jacobs. But
yeah,
anyway, so that was really cool just to interact with him and seeing what his thoughts on it and what his vision of the company was, which was something that I had only read about, right, in my previous firm. So that was probably one of the biggest cultural changes. And then also just how the camaraderie that we all have in the office and just seeing that and having like-minded people really working together.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Imagine coming in, seeing the CEO and one of the, at least two of the co-founders right off the bat in the first week or two you were here. That's definitely a dramatic shift, probably from virtually any firm, I imagine, save for a few small firms. But that's cool that you had that positive experience immediately right as you started. Not to discredit large corporate firms, it's just a dramatically different culture, and everybody. Things resonate with different folks in different ways. And, I know the people who work here tend to look for and seek out that level of connection with their leadership and fellow workers for sure. I think we marry many of the great aspects of both really, and to make it a sustainable model for everybody to make them excited to be a part of the team. So you originally went to school at UT Tyler in the main campus. I just recently found out there was a Houston Engineering Center campus for UT Tyler, which is not in Houston; it's in East Texas. So you didn't go to the Houston campus for UT Tyler; you went to the main campus for UT Tyler, right? Okay.
Yeah,
how was that in Tyler? I mean, East Texas is a little different than Houston. People aren't familiar with the Texas, geography and culture. There are decidedly different segments of Texas, almost like you would be in a different state sometimes. So I imagine going from Tyler or East Texas area to Houston or anywhere in the rest of the state, it's probably different. But how was it like going to school up in Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler, Texas is definitely Texas. I've never really been there. Only visited it once, and I really liked the campus. I basically chose UT Tyler. One was their engineering, and that's one of the things I was looking for. I knew that I wanted to be a civil engineer, but I wasn't exactly sure what type of engineering. And then the second part was I wanted to play soccer in college. So I knew that they would provide me that opportunity, play soccer and have a good education. And then the campus was nice and it was affordable for me because I'm like the first person in my family to go to college, and I wanted to be able to pay for it, not have like a huge debt afterwards.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was pretty much the three main things that I was looking for in college, and East Texas and UT Tyler like fit the description. So I was very happy to go there, and I enjoyed it, and we won some 3 championships over there.
Cool.
Went into the NCAA tournament, finished good standing my last year I was there. So that was a really good experience to have.
They're Division I there, or are they?
So they're Division. They were Division III, and then they recently became Division II.
Oh wow,
so,
cool.
Yeah, so that was neat.
That's
just being part of that. Just like I think about a couple of weeks back, the head coach he sent me a text like, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard, we've gone to Division II. Thank you for being a part of it. Like you were." Pretty much help.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, be
cool.
part of that. So that was cool.
Yeah, you're definitely well known around the office for your athleticism regarding soccer. I know you play locally in an indoor league. Is that correct?
I play indoor leagues, outdoor leagues, small sided, big field. I just play as much as I can.
Yeah, you definitely drove the office recently in terms of World Cup viewership. And I know your country's team, Mexico, didn't quite make it as far as you'd hope, but we were all seemed to be in alignment with who we were rooting for, mostly because of your leadership in terms of making sure we were cheering for the right team. But you've definitely educated me on the finer rules of soccer. I'm not or football. I'm not as well versed in it. So we have Sam who plays Australian rules football. And then obviously yourself who plays typical football, that kind of gives us a rounded education on the various forms of football across the world. So it's cool that, you have that aspect, that participation in the local leagues, that definitely, is a thriving community here in Houston for sure. So have you had a chance to go to any MLS games, Dynamo games? I'm sure you've been to a few.
Yeah, I go to Dynamo again when I can. I definitely don't follow them as much as I would like to, or support them in that way. But I do like going to see some matchups like the Texas Derby against Dallas, when LA Galaxy comes to town, or sometimes DC United, or when Kaká was there, who's playing. Like I went to see him, and then just I like seeing good matches and
Yeah.
good games. Because sometimes I like to just analyze the teams and how they're playing, and I get more fun out of that. Just seeing how they're trying to out chess each other. And then I play with the assistant general manager for the Dynamo. So he like lets me know like when he's not going to make an indoor game, it's probably because he's managing the Dynamo. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I guess you'll put the Dynamo before our indoor team.
I would hope, yeah. At least you got to put Houston up, I guess.
Yeah, so it's fun having like that, those connections just throughout. Just like you meet so many people, just brings all this diversity together.
Yeah,
so it's awesome. Yeah,
I would certainly rank a Dynamo game among my top experiences in terms of sports. Even though we have, the Texans, Astros, and the Rockets here, I would say a live game of the Dynamo was one of the most energetic games, just MLS games in general, because the people there are just so crazily energetic. I don't know.
Have you ever sat with the
Texian Army folks?
Yeah, like the one that are playing the whole time.
They are playing drums and shooting off smoke bombs.
That's where I like to sit. I like to sit with them.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if have you been to a soccer game or MLS game before, Kelly?
I have.
They get rowdy.
I've been to an LA game, and I used to live in Orlando for a while, so I actually went to the first home game in Orlando. It's a different experience.
Oh, yeah.
Man. It's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm always confused about the Orlando's team's name, Orlando City, right?
Yeah, but they're the Lions also, but
Okay.
they're Orlando City.
Yeah. It's kind of backwards like Houston Texans, but oh well, doesn't matter. It's definitely a blast. If anybody has a chance, you should definitely check out an MLS game. But nonetheless, that's awesome. You have that experience, and you get to be right next to somebody who works for the company or works for the team.
I mean, yeah, like Teller has taught me a lot of things that apply here, like work ethic, working in a team, and that's pretty much it. Work ethic and working as a team.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing that our coach instilled in us, that work beats talent any day. So if you can have the most talented team, but if they can't work together, you have a more hardworking team, you can always beat that team. So I think how that translates to us is how well we communicate, right? And that was one of the biggest things that I got from the get-go here. I started here and started working with the Dallas office, and they needed help. And I never met these people, new company. So we did a lot of Google Hangouts, a lot of sharing screen and on the phone. And that's how we got through it. And I learned a lot just being on the phone and having that conversation. And I don't know, that was something that's translated, and I still do every day.
So aside from the teamwork and the communication, how did you balance your time, not only being a student athlete, but being a civil engineering major and finishing on time? What did you learn back in school that's kind of translated to today?
Yeah, that was really tough. Our soccer season was in the fall, and I would take one less engineering course, and then I would just make it up in the summer. I would just make it up in the summer. So I would go from just studying and schoolwork in the morning, and I would go straight to practice for 2 or 3 hours. Then I would go home, and I would grab something to eat, and then I would continue doing my schoolwork up until midnight or something like that. And then go back to. So that was pretty much every day. I spread it out throughout the week just so I could have a pretty good schedule or be repetitive, right, in nature. And then schoolwork kind of came. It was hard work as far as time management, but I was able to find a good study group. My roommates were also soccer athletes and were doing civil engineering. So that was my main study group. So we would be on the road, we would be studying, we would be doing homework. So we would either be studying or playing soccer. So that was a good bond to have those 4 years with them.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Your coach said hard work beats talent any day.
Yep.
So I think that's a very key HR recruiting aspect, that you hire for people, hire for the culture, hire for that alignment with company values, you can always backfill skill and talent. You train hard enough, you'll build your talent back up. You can speak to innate talent in some people, and especially important like high level professional sports, things like that, perhaps. But for what we do as consultants, so much of that knowledge is something that could be easily trained, or with time trained at least. But it's hard to find or train somebody to be a hard worker and to feel like they fit into a particular company or a particular team. And I think a lot of companies find themselves looking for talent and then hoping that person will just simply be a good fit in terms of culture, in terms of resonating with the team and things like that. So I think that's one thing we do very well, is finding people who are a good fit and, making sure they're hard workers, because the talent and the skill, if they're not there already, will soon come shortly after.
Yeah. So that was his whole philosophy. He's like, I can find talent anywhere, but it's hard to find a hard worker. Mm-hmm. So that was the thing. He's like, he wanted hard workers first, and he would make us run a lot to kind of instill that in us. When something didn't go right, every little detail mattered. So if one person wasn't doing it, we were all pay the price, right?
Yeah,
by running. But anyways, that was key little lessons you learn here and there, and kind of take with you.
Yeah, it's just patience at the end of the day. As long as you have enough patience, you'll win in the long term. It's just, are you willing to weather the ups and downs until you get to that point? But like I said, I think that's something we do very well here in terms of finding the right people, and then the talent, the skill, all that stuff comes with time if it's not already there.
Yeah. So I think hard work. To answer your question, Kelly, just a lot of hard work, and a lot of time. I learned to be a night owl, and I still am today. Still kind of have that sleep pattern, kind of going to sleep kind of late, and and kind of showing up a little later. But
you're always here, virtually after everybody else. So
yeah, so it's like it's kind of instilled in me now.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I'm glad you still have it. Though. It helps us out because it's you're definitely contributing to a successful team here in the Houston office. Going back to BRD engineering related topics, what are the most interesting projects that you get to work on? What are the things that really excite you? I know you're kind of our de facto CAD design whiz in the office. You tend to be the person that we go to when we have any questions about our software or any modeling and any high tech type related questions. So you're very committed and passionate about defining new ways to design a project. What are the things that really excite you in terms of engineering design?
I like finding the solutions to like our drainage problems that we have in every project, or not problems, but we're trying to find a solution for everything. But I like being able to really start from the ground and look at the drainage patterns and the design and seeing how it all comes together, like doing those calculations and then doing the modeling for the surfaces and just really seeing it on the screen, right, through a model and then actually through the plans and permitting and talking about the theory and the design concept with the reviewers or just peers, and then finally getting to see if it works, right, with all this concept and calculations. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the most satisfying part that I enjoy. And that's in every project because every project has drainage. So
yeah,
it's really cool.
Big topic in Houston for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's
kind of important.
That's what I like doing. I like doing all that.
Yeah. So all the hydraulics and hydrology aspects, any kind of H&H stuff, things are obviously first and foremost on our minds when it comes to Houston developments, but just in general, I mean, it's very important. But there's so many new technologies built into like Autodesk Civil 3D or other programs that accommodate drainage design that really pay dividends in terms of our design time, the design accuracy, and the amount of data that we can import and export in and out of a project. I think that helps out a lot. And I know that you've researched things on your own and have taught a lot of us ways to expedite that process and make it more efficient use of our time. So I know that you dig pretty deep into it. So what do you feel about some of the modeling practices of civil? I know when it comes to BIM or building information management or modeling rather, structural stuff is very active, very thorough when it comes to architecture and MEP stuff. But on the civil side, we're perhaps a little behind in terms of the innovation on the software front. What do you think? Do you think that things are changing finally for civil modeling practices? Yeah,
I think for sure. And then we're trying to catch up quick. We have, I think they label it SIM, right? Civil information modeling, or something along those lines. But I think we're gonna come to a point where we're going to just be exporting the models. And I think we already do with some of the more advanced construction equipment where they can just import that information. I know I've worked on a couple projects where that's what they needed. They just needed the model, and then the construction documents just follow that, right? And it was just a 2D representation of the model, which is what we're doing right now. So I think we'll come to a point where the construction documents will be more like a formality.
Yeah.
And the model, which helps us all coordinate more efficiently, will become the main focus.
That's cool. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Are there any projects specifically that you've worked on since you've been here that have been exciting, things that you found to be particularly, that you're particularly proud of, or it was really fun to be a part of in terms of the project and the design?
Because I'm learning. A lot of these projects are fairly new. These type of projects, right? So I'm still really learning. What it takes to have a successful or cool project. But I think, the Athlo school have been pretty cool just because they're being constructed now, and I've been able to be a part of that. So I think just seeing those calculations and that come together, and then I think shortly now we'll be able to go see it.
The private schools
that
you guys helped design.
Right.
There's several of them across the state of Texas that service K through 12. Actually, I think K through 8.
K through 8.
Which is a very strongly needed segment in terms of education. It's just a underserved population since there's a lot of population growth, but public school systems can't keep up, especially in the suburban areas and parts. So that's part of what that product that our client Athlos was developing. So it's cool that you guys get to be a part of that, designing queue lanes and designing areas for small children to be a part of. It's definitely different than designing an apartment or, a retail building. There's a lot of things you got to keep in mind when you're doing that. So. And
then subdivisions have been pretty cool to me just because I know that these are going to be homes that people live in, and also the areas where they're somewhat closer to kind of where I grew up or places that I go to. So like yesterday, I thought I had a soccer game, and I went out there, and it was actually for next weekend. So I was like, oh, great. Because I just drove 30 minutes out there and to Houston Sports Park. But I was like, well, I'm close enough to these 3 projects. Let me just go drive by them. So I went by because I hadn't visited the site yet. So I went by and drove around a little bit and just saw like the neighborhood, and kind of, I was imagining just what I was doing here at the office there, and just seeing if it would work or not. And that was good to see.
Yeah, imagine people's kids running around in the front yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Riding their bikes down the street. Things like that.
Yeah, and I went to the subdivision across the street and went into it just to kind of get more of an idea. And there were people running around with the bikes and everything, and I just kind of wave, and I was like, man, maybe this is creepy, because like I'm driving around this neighborhood really slowly, looking at inlets like a crazy person. But I don't know. I enjoy that,
That's cool. That's kind of, I think an aspect a lot of people miss about their work when they come into civil engineering and, development consulting, is that the end product is real. It's something that somebody uses each day. And, the fact that you went out there and actually kicked the dirt and, imagined and visualized it, it shows the level of commitment that you personally show. And I think the level of commitment that our teams show in terms of actually creating a product that people want to build and want to either live in or shop in or, whatever it is. So that's really cool that you did that. I think that's speaks volumes about, the type of professional you are. So, I think there's just so much stuff that you gain from that because you get to actually see people, living their life and you potentially improving somebody's quality of life in real terms. So what are some of the things that you are interested in working on, in the future here at BRD and in your career?
So I've been really interested in more sustainable designs, like green engineering. And since I knew that Bigger Dog empowers their employees to do that, I thought that maybe one day, like I'll be able to implement that somehow. And we had a great lunch learned last week about it. And then we started talking to them, and we could potentially have a possibility to do that with an upcoming project. So I didn't think it was going to happen this soon, right? Mm-hmm. But it's definitely something that I've been researching. I've been doing sample calcs just so I can be ready for it, especially with the new legislations in the floodplain in Houston. I think resilient designs are going to be a good solution for that, for those developers, for those developments. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
So I know you live here in the inner loop of Houston. You're pretty close to downtown and the office. You ride your bike into the office every day. So what are some of the things that you'd like to do in your free time? Obviously, riding bikes is one of them. What are some of the things? What are some of the paths bike paths, I guess, that you take around town?
So I like riding my bike to work. I think it's a healthy way to stay fit. Or it also helps me because I don't like running. Even though I play soccer, I don't like running for fun, and biking just a good way to expand your lung capacity. So I used to do a lot more cycling events with my wife, and we used to do MS 150, and then we used to do other local semi-organized events. There's a scavenger hunt. In the Heights, that's really fun. There was a 3-mile one, and there's a 20-mile one, and it kind of takes all day, but it's a really cool way to get to know a city. So anytime we go somewhere or new, we either rent a bike or we'll go to a brewery and just go around that way. So we judge a city by its breweries and bike paths.
Good.
So,
we're in good hands here in Houston, though.
And so it's a really good way to just do something active together outside. We used to go running, but again, I don't like running, or I would run faster, or we would go on a walk sometimes. And she's an environmental consultant, so and she mostly deals with wetlands and things like that. Like wetland permitting is a major thing. So we would go around the bayou, and she'll point out plants and some of the ecosystems that feed into the bayou or a wetland, and I learn from her, and then I talk about the hydraulics and why it's widening this way and the floodplain. So we can connect that way, and it's a fun way for us to go out and see the world together.
Yeah, that's really awesome. You guys have that synergy together. Yeah, it sounds like y'all need to schedule a lunch and learn for the office, just a hydraulics and environmental lunch and learn on the bayous over here. Just to take the office out on bikes, and we'll just go around and point out all the things. That sounds cool, though. Actually, I would personally enjoy doing that for sure. Just so much stuff, so much wildlife and native flora and fauna around here that would be pretty cool to point out. Probably could do that as a side hustle. Just taking tours. There's a lot of bike tours around here. Actually, they don't even talk about anything. So. I'd pay money for that.
Oh, okay. You'll be our first customer.
Good. I'll be there with my family in tow for sure. But it's cool that you guys are in the same industry, and you get that insight into the environmental side of things, which plays a heavy role into some of the consultant work that we do. We often do it either internally or outsource it with other consultants when it becomes necessary. So So we ask 3 questions of every guest, at least for the last 2 episodes, maybe 3 now. I guess this is the 3rd one.
Third time's a charm.
We keep saying we do it every time, but we've only been doing it for 2 or 3 times. So we've done it every time for the last 3 times. So 3 questions. It gives us a better picture of who the employees are in the firm, and kind of builds that greater tapestry, that cultural picture, snapshot, I guess, of the firm. So first question is, if you had to add a book to the BRD library, imagine this virtual global library rather, that you can, put a book on. It could be an audiobook, it could be whatever, what would that book be and why?
Yeah. So I really like audio. I like to listen to podcasts.
So you're putting the Unleashed podcast.
So I would put the Unleashed podcast number 1 every time. I put like 500 copies of it.
Nice. Good.
And then also I'm pretty nerdy. Like, I'm the guy who reads the instructions, like, to things to figure out how to actually do it correctly or how it's meant to be put together. So I before I got into land development, I read the Land Development Handbook. And there's like a whole, 200-300 page handbook about that. So I read that front to cover just so I can learn more about what I was getting into, type of thing. And so, yeah, that's my reference that I use a lot. I go back to it all the time. And then another one, it's a fellow UT Tyler, fellow UT Tyler patriot. His name is Jonathan Jones. He wrote a book called Process: 14 Surprisingly Simple Behaviors to Skyrocket Millions into Success. And I started reading that one, and it just pretty much has this like pretty good advice of how to be more successful in your life. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I've been enjoying that read. So
cool. Those are good,
cool stuff.
Good contributions, especially the podcast one. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and then the other podcasts that I really like are Reply All. I love that podcast. And then Radio Lab as well. So like 1 and 2.
Naturally. Where would you rate us compared to Radio Lab?
100.
So equivalent, basically? You're saying production value, professionalism?
No, probably like that's my 1 and 2, and you're like 100.
Oh, well, man, my heart just sank.
No, just kidding.
Maybe we won't publish this.
You're probably top 3.
I'm editing all this out now, I guess.
Top 3, yeah. I knew that we were going to edit that. So.
No, I'll keep it in there. No, just so I can come back and point to it later on.
It's I really enjoy. Like, I've listened to every episode.
No, it's a phenomenal production for sure.
Like
of us.
Unleashed. Yeah, I've listened to every
Radio
episode.
Lab, I'm assuming. Of course,
I'm subscribed, so I'm one of your subscribers.
Nice, thank you.
So I know exactly when it goes out because I get a notification, and then I start listening to it right after I get out.
Well, we appreciate it, just like everybody else who downloads, giving us the time to be between your ears for a little while. Mm-hmm. I know.
You're my bike ride.
Yeah, good. I think a lot of people working out or driving. For most of us in Houston, it's usually a commute. But somebody somewhere is listening to it, doing something that otherwise it would just be silence or just random background noise. Yeah, so appreciate y'all giving us the time to listen to us.
It's a good way for me to learn more about my fellow teammates. Yeah,
basically, yeah. It's a good exercise. Yeah, it's definitely a great way to learn everybody's story. Yeah. We enjoy it. I mean, we get to do this. It's definitely a privilege. Second question, on that note, pretend BRD didn't exist. Now that you said you enjoyed working or learning so much about your fellow employees, imagine none of those people were working for Big Red Dog. Imagine BRD didn't exist and you couldn't do civil engineering or you never learned it. What would you do to chase your passion?
So one of my biggest passions, if you haven't guessed it, is soccer. And I absolutely love playing, and I try to play as much as possible. And actually did try to become a professional soccer player when I was 16. I went to Mexico and went to try out for this team, didn't make it. And then from there, I was like, man, maybe I should be some other type of professional, right? So I became a professional engineer. So it works out in the long run.
I mean, you're still a soccer star, or you're still a football star here anyway. So
and then for the past 2 years, I was part of a semi-pro indoor soccer team. So that was pretty fun. And I really enjoy that too. Mm-hmm. Being able to play at a competitive level, it's always cool. Yeah. So I would have gone and maybe try to play in the States or overseas or back in Mexico, I would try to become a professional player. And
Cool.
one of my best friends actually did do it. He played for FC Bayamón in Puerto Rico, and then he participated in one of the big tournaments, club tournaments, and played against probably the biggest club in Mexico called Club America. So he played against them. They obviously lost. But I mean, that was an awesome experience that he had, and he'll talk to his grandkids about and stuff.
For sure, yeah.
So that's, being a soccer player is a short career, but you get to pay to do what you love. So
Absolutely,
it's amazing.
I don't think it's completely out of the question still. I mean, I think some MLS players have day jobs even, right? Perhaps some of the MLS on the women's soccer, I know they do have some day jobs, but I don't know. Maybe MLS players, perhaps, I don't know for sure. But I believe there are many of them that at least coming up to that point, professional, most of those folks have day jobs still. So
I mean, the Iceland team all had day jobs.
Really?
Right? Yeah, like the head coach was a dentist. Yeah,
remarkable.
Yep. And then the goalkeeper, I think he was like a factory worker or something like that. And then
it's incredible.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that in professional sports in general. But cool. Well, I think it's still on your horizon, so I wouldn't rule that out. I think you can do both, BRD and professional soccer.
Yeah, why not?
Our last question really touches on our mission statement. So what does it mean to you to make the engineering business cool?
For me, it's about my community and how I can make it better, just make it better, make my community better. But also something that it's been a realization that I don't really think about much is also being a role model for your community, and especially for a community like being from Mexico and come to the United States and getting an education and being the first to go to college and figuring that out, and then figuring out how to be an engineer. So just being a role model for my nephews, my family, and others like me. So
great. That's making it relevant for communities and your family. Like, that's important. I mean, that's part of, I think, what we're doing is making engineering business, relevant, making it, immediately something that people can, relate to and recognize the value of it and the value it has in their lives that surrounds them, basically. But anyway, Jesus, I really appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by today and sitting down with us to have a conversation. We really appreciate the time that you take, and just like everybody else that takes the time to listen to us, to get to know you and everybody else in the company. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, folks, that does it for another episode of Unleashed. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and a number of other storefronts. If you have an opportunity, if you give us a listen and subscribe, if you could leave us a rating or a review in any of those storefronts, we'd really appreciate it. And as always, you can find our show notes online at bigreddog.com/podcasts.
I know a lot of our listeners out there are current students, so all students interested in a fall internship, definitely check out our website right now. We're hiring for all disciplines in all cities. And if you're not a student, if you know your nieces, nephews, neighbors looking for internships, go to bigreddog.com/interns. And that'll give you all the information that you need for our current positions, and you can apply online.
Great. Now we're looking for great talent, especially folks who are interested in going to school and working at the same time. Definitely get ahead of the game, get involved in an internship in some capacity, determine the path you want to take in your career. It pays a lot of dividends in your career. Well, that does it for this episode of Unleashed. Take care for now.